33 of the Standing Committee on International Trade to order. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format pursuant to House Order of June 23, 2022, and therefore members are attending in person in the room and remotely using the Zoom application. I'd like to make a few comments for the benefit of witnesses and members. Please wait until I recognize you by name before speaking. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. For those participating by video conference, click on the microphone icon to activate your mic, and please mute yourself when you are not speaking. With regard to interpretation, for those on Zoom, you have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, English, or French. For those in the room, you can use the earpiece and select the desired channel. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair, and for members in the room, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand. For members on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. Clerk and I will manage the speaking order as best we can, and we appreciate your patience and understanding in this regard. Please also note that during the meeting, it is not permitted to take pictures in the room or screenshots on Zoom. Should any technical challenges arise, please advise me, and please note that we may need to suspend for a few minutes as we need to ensure that all members are able to participate fully. Welcome to those who are online virtually. Ms. Collins and Mr. Sarai, glad to see you. Thank you for joining our committee today. Pursuant to Standing Order 1082 and the motion adopted by the committee on Tuesday, September 2022, the committee is receiving a briefing on ministerial work completed in a very busy summer of 2022. With us today, we have the Minister of International Trade, Export Promotion, Small Business and Economic Development, Minister Ng. Welcome, Minister Ng. We're very happy to have you. From the Department of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Development, Rob Stewart, Deputy Minister, International Trade. Sarah Wilshaw, Chief Trade Commissioner, Assistant Deputy Minister in International Business Development, Investment and Innovation. Bruce Christie, Assistant Deputy Minister and Chief Trade Negotiator. Aaron Fuller, Associate Assistant Deputy Minister. From the Department of Industry, Charles Vincent, Assistant Deputy Minister, Small Business and Marketplace Services. I want to welcome back to our committee. Many of you have been here before, and we're happy to hear you again today. Minister Ng, you normally have 5 minutes for whoever's presenting. I'm going to ask if it's okay with committee members that the minister possibly have a few extra minutes because she has a lot to tell us. And we'd like to get that done. So if that's okay with everyone, I'll turn the floor over to Minister Ng. You have the floor, please.
Well, merci, Madame la Présidente, and good afternoon to you and to the Vice Chairs and to all of the committee members, both those returning and new members, both here in person. It's wonderful to be here in person and to see everyone on the screen. It's terrific to get a chance to speak to the committee members directly. I always look forward to updating the committee on the work that I've been doing on trade. This is a pivotal time for our economy and for Canada's approach to trade, how we trade, whom we trade with, and who trades. Both the pandemic and Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine have demonstrated the need to strengthen and diversify our supply chains so that Canadians can access the goods they rely on and so that Canadian businesses can continue to expand, contributing to our economic growth and creating good-paying jobs across the country. Mon objectif est toujours été et continue d'être.
My objective has always been to reinforce our trade relationships throughout the world by opening up new markets to businesses.
Canada's largest trading partner, making up 2/3 of our international trade. Since our government negotiated CUSMA, we are seeing record levels of trade, with the U.S. reaching over $1 trillion in the last year. In May, I hosted my counterpart, the United States Trade Representative, Ambassador Catherine Tai, the first Biden cabinet official to visit Canada, a signal of the importance of the trade relationship. Mais dans une relation aussi vaste,
in such a large and diversified relationship as ours, there are challenges that need to be met.
Prime Minister and I led a Team Canada effort to include Canadian vehicles in the United States EV tax credits. The inclusion of Canadian auto in the Inflation Reduction Act will protect our auto industry, secure thousands of good-paying jobs, and is already attracting billions of dollars of investments into our EV supply chain. In July, I hosted the CUSMA Free Trade Commission meeting with the United States and Mexico in Vancouver, marking the success of CUSMA, a trade agreement our government signed that supports around 2 million Canadian jobs. And a month later, Minister Champagne and I strengthened Canada's ties with Mexico through the inaugural Canada-Mexico high-level economic dialogue. We're also growing ties with our European allies on the other side of the Atlantic. In March, I launched negotiations towards a free trade agreement with the United Kingdom, our fourth largest trading partner. In August, I joined the Prime Minister to host German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and our two countries signed a hydrogen agreement that will grow our economy and fight climate change. And just last month, I joined my EU counterpart to celebrate the 5th anniversary of CIIT, which has boosted our trade with the EU by 30% since coming into force. Mais le commerce du Canada doit.
But we have to go beyond our historic trade partners into the Indo-Pacific region.
I've been to the region to strengthen our relationships, and I'm heading back in 2 weeks. During my first trip to the Indo-Pacific this year, I launched negotiations towards an early progress trade agreement with India, a pragmatic and commercially relevant agreement that will give Canadian businesses preferential access to over 1 billion customers. On my second trip, I attended the APEC Trade Ministerial in Thailand, where I launched negotiations to accede to the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement, which would position Canadian businesses and workers at the forefront of the rapidly growing digital economy. I also visited Singapore to establish an innovative Canadian trade gateway in Southeast Asia, a front door that will both support Canadian businesses and entrepreneurs to expand across the Indo-Pacific and to bring investments and talent from Southeast Asia into Canada. That's followed by 2 trips to the ASEAN meetings in Cambodia, where I pushed for our FTA negotiation with the ASEAN and announced the creation of a new Canada-ASEAN Trust Fund to promote further collaboration and Canada's strategic objectives in the region. I also made a stop into the Philippines, where I met with some of the most incredible entrepreneurs, specifically women entrepreneurs, many of whom who are looking to Canada as their next export market. Earlier this year, we launched the Canada-Philippines Joint Partnership to create even more opportunities for these entrepreneurs. This summer, I welcomed Vietnam to Vancouver to strengthen the economic partnership through the Joint Economic Commission. And my latest trip to Asia was back to Singapore to enhance our ties with the Comprehensive Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership partners, with whom we have seen an over 8% increase in exports since the agreement came into force. And before returning to Canada, I stopped by in Jakarta, where I met with a number of key government officials in Indonesia to advance the progress on the Canada-Indonesia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and the Canada-ASEAN collaboration. Au-delà de la région Indo-Pacifique, j'ai également.
Beyond the Indo-Pacific region, I also presented businesses, innovations, and Canadian investments throughout the world.
Leading a trade mission to the Caribbean and expanding opportunities in Guyana, Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago, and to the wider CARICOM, and also launching a virtual trade mission to Africa with a focus on Botswana, Senegal, South Africa, and Cote d'Ivoire. Over this last week, I've been meeting with the African Union and Chairperson Moussa Faki Mahamat, who have been in Ottawa to participate in the first ever Canada-Africa high-level dialogue. And what do all of these countries I've just listed in the last few minutes have in common? They're all places where Canadians come from. I like to say Canada is best positioned to trade in the world because we all come from around the world. And our government is ensuring that all Canadians, no matter what their origin, no matter what their gender, no matter what size of their business, can benefit from trade. Et tant que ministre de la petite entreprise,
As Minister for Small Businesses, I have to make sure that our small business owners and entrepreneurs have the support that they need in order to grow their businesses internationally.
Like the Trade Commissioner Service, our Can Export Program, our Trade Accelerator Program, and Export Development Canada, our government is helping thousands of small businesses expand their global footprint. With our government's women's entrepreneurship strategy, we're investing $6 billion into supporting women entrepreneurs, such as through the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada's series of women-only trade missions to the Indo-Pacific. We're also ensuring that Indigenous peoples benefit from trade, for they are the first traders, entrepreneurs, and innovators in the land we now call Canada. That is why Canada joined the Indigenous Peoples Economic and Trade Cooperation Agreement, or IPECTA, which will establish a framework for cooperation between participating economies in order to remove barriers to Indigenous peoples' economic empowerment and participation in trade. Et nous faisons tout ce travail non seulement parce que
And we're doing all this work not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's a smart thing to do.
they're growing our economy and creating good jobs. And this is why we negotiate strong, progressive gender, labor, and SME provisions in our free trade agreements. It's also why in April I launched a new and expanded responsible business conduct strategy to ensure that Canadian companies abroad are contributing to local communities and upholding high environmental and ethical standards. Rules are important, and Canada will continue to champion the international rules-based international trading system, including through our work with the Ottawa Group at the WTO. And the WTO 12th Ministerial Conference in June, Canada played a role in reaching a historic multilateral agreement to advance vaccine equity around the world, renewed the moratorium on e-commerce, working to restore the WTO's dispute settlement mechanism, and to protect our oceans and fish stocks. But we all know the pandemic and Russia's invasion on Ukraine has taught us all an important lesson. We can no longer take our rules-based trading system for granted, and that is why Canada will continue to be a world leader in champion progressive, sustainable, and inclusive trade. I can't do this work alone. Je tiens à vous remercier à tous et à toutes.
I want to thank all of you for your hard work and your contributions.
A core component of Team Canada, and I look forward to continuing this work with all of you and to deliver for Canadians. Thank you, merci, and I look forward to taking your questions.
Thank you very much, Ministering. You certainly sounded like you never stopped completely for that several months with touching base with all of those countries. But thank you for that work. On to Mr. Seaback for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Minister, for coming to the committee. In your comments, you talked about it's a pivotal time, a need to strengthen and expand supply chains, et cetera, et cetera. When we look around the world at what's happening, whether it's the quadrilateral security dialogue or the IPEF, Canada's being left behind. So I certainly don't fault you for the trips you're taking, but it seems to be delivering very limited progress. Being excluded from the IPEF is a significant setback for Canada and Canada's trade. Can you explain why it's been such a failure?
Thank the honourable member for that wonderful question. And I would say to the contrary, the markets we are opening around the world, the work that we are doing in the Indo-Pacific, the high standard, high quality agreement that is the CPTPP that includes a number of Pacific nations. Canada is a Pacific nation country, and we are in the CPTPP. We've seen an 8% growth in exports since it's come into force, and it's a progressive and a comprehensive agreement. We work with the United States as our largest trading partner, and we do this work together. And yesterday it was really terrific because Secretary Blinken was here in Canada. Actually, he's still in Canada. He's just in Montreal today and Ottawa yesterday. And Minister Joly did announce that that we are going to join the Indo-Pacific Economic Partnership. And Secretary Blinken, of course, in the United States have supported this. This is work that we continue to do. Of course, there is always more work to do to deepen the partnerships in the region, but also with the United States. We're very committed to making sure that we have good, resilient supply chains, negotiating good, strong frameworks for Canada, being a part in the Indo-Pacific, but also in other parts of the world where there are customers. We get to tout that we're the only G7 country with a free trade agreement with every other G7 country. That's customers supporting our Canadian businesses to enter into those markets, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, is what I love doing every single day, and I love doing it with all of you.
Minister, I only have 6 minutes, but there's 7 members of the CPTPP that are already members of the IPEF. Canada was clearly left out. To say, well, we're now trying to join, that's exactly what the problem is. We weren't included when it was first going on, and that's a significant problem. You also said that you want our trade to have high environmental and ethical standards. In April of 2021, You didn't answer questions with respect to if imports from China's Xinjiang region are being intercepted at the border as a result of allegations of forced labor. Can you update us on what the progress Canada's made with respect to that, especially in light of your comments of saying we want to have high ethical standards when it comes to trade?
Thank you very much. Let me begin by saying that we trade leading with Canadian values. The CPTPP is a terrific example of that. The C and the P components were Canadian additions for high standards on labor and on the environment. We have updated and strengthened our responsible business conduct strategy. And I expect all Canadian companies operating anywhere in the world, including in China, to uphold those high standards. We have supported Bill S-2211. This is the Fighting Forced Labor and Child Labor in Supply Chains Act. Yes, we are taking action to make sure that forced labor concerns, when we have them, there will be contract suspensions, there will be shipment interceptions, and we will withdraw the Canadian Trade Commissioner service.
Do we have any numbers on that? Are you tracking any of this so we can talk about these results for Canadians, or is it just sort of general statements?
They're not general statements.
Does the department have any numbers on that?
They're not general statements at all. It is an absolute commitment through the new RBC, updated RBC. It is work that we are doing with my partners, whether it's at Labour or through the CBSA. Absolutely, this is an issue we take seriously. Human rights is an issue that Canada resoundingly stands up for. It's an area that we're going to always keep working on.
Have any shipments been seized as a result of this at the Canadian border as a result of this? Do you track that?
I believe that there are, and look, I mean,
Can you have the department give us those numbers, like report to the committee back on that, please?
As I said, the support, I think, of Bill S-211 is going to be really, really important. It is about getting rid of forced labor and child labor in supply chains. We, of course, are concerned about the region. And we're going to keep working with both Canadian companies on the one hand so that they understand their expectations abroad and at the same time have the mechanisms necessary to live up to what Canadians expect of us in international trade.
I understand that, Minister, but is the department keeping track of any of this? Are there any numbers that the department can release to this committee? And because I only have a little time left, I'd prefer like yes or no, and if they have it, they can send it.
Well, I can tell you that this is an area that we are absolutely committed to. In CUSMA, for example, it's actually built into our trade agreement where there will be no forced labor in our supply chain. So absolutely, I'm working very hard with the Minister of Labour and with my colleagues to ensure that we do have the mechanisms in place to live up to this important.
So I'm going to guess there's no data has been tracked. 'Cause I've asked 3 times for the data, and you're talking in generality. So I will say that the department is not tracking any seizures with respect to goods alleged to have been made with forced labor from the Xinjiang region.
What I'm saying is that the commitment by the Canadian government to ensure that there is no forced labor in our supply chain is something that is real, and we are working on it.
Thank you very much.
One thing, results are another.
Okay. Mr. Barani for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. Minister, welcome to the committee. Thank you for being here with so many officials to answer our important questions. I want to build on something that you mentioned at the tail end of your opening statement, which dovetails with the WTO and sort of the importance of sort of the rules-based multilateral trading system. We know that there's an Ottawa group. You are the chair of that Ottawa group. You hosted a virtual meeting recently with the WTO Director General, and you were talking about sort of continuing momentum towards achieving strong outcomes on trade and health. WTO reform was dealing with things like such as negotiation on fisheries, subsidies, and agriculture. There was a WTO 12th Ministerial Conference, which I appreciate was delayed slightly, but eventually took place in June. And I was wondering if we could start with you just giving us some information to the committee about what was accomplished at that WTO Ministerial.
Well, thank you very much for that question. Let me start with Ottawa Group. It is an incredibly effective group of countries working together to to advance the international rules-based order and the multilateral trading system. Who is a part of the Ottawa Group? Well, I mean, it's countries like Japan, Korea, Australia, Singapore, New Zealand, Mexico, Kenya, Norway, Brazil, Chile, Switzerland, the European Union, and most recently the United Kingdom. So this is a formidable group of countries who work together to ensure that the work we are doing together will reinforce the work on the international in the international trading order. I would say that almost every meeting that we've hosted with the Ottawa Group, the Director General has been there, and of late it has been Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is a formidable leader as the Director General of the WTO. But the reason that this group was formed was to strengthen and to build upon those rules that we all depend on. It is called the Ottawa Group for WTO Reform. During the pandemic, I'm very proud of some of the work that ultimately made its way to the ministerial response to the pandemic. We saw at the early part of the pandemic, some 90 countries issued over 200 export restrictions during the pandemic. You can imagine what that would cause to the goods, the inputs that are needed to make very important things like, protective PPEs, protective gears, or critical food or medicines that needed to, move around the world. So making sure that there are some rules to deal with a response to the pandemic. This initiative, the response to the pandemic, started at the WTO through the Ottawa Group. It was the Ottawa Group that developed what ultimately ended up being adopted multilaterally by, the over 100 members of the WTO to get the multilateral agreement. We also committed at the ministerial to work on the dispute settlement system so that you do have a functioning dispute settlement system for the WTO, for the international rules-based order. Very pleased that I know you've heard from our ambassador who is in Geneva working with her colleagues at the WTO, including the United States and many others. This is about working multilaterally to ensure that we have solutions to fortify and to strengthen the rules-based system. I think about e-commerce and the negotiations that are taking place so that we have the kinds of rules that are going to help the digital economy that is certainly the present and the future, trade and the environment, and the kinds of rules that are going to be necessary to ensure that we are both the economy and the environment going hand in hand globally is what we are working on there with our multilateral partners. But we're also looking at the negotiating function and some of the innovations that we have been able to pursue. It's called the Joint Statement Initiative, or JSIs, but we passed one as, which is a plurilateral on domestic services regulation, which is making it easier in each of our economies so that those rules to facilitate trade with ease was something that started as a plurilateral, so a JSI, that then went forward to a broader, to the broader membership and adopted. But here's the thing that really was extraordinary. The multilateral rules-based trading system is something that we are committed to working on. We achieved a ministerial outcome by the WTO membership. And remember, it requires every single member to achieve a multilateral agreement, and we did that. And a negotiation in fisheries has been negotiated for over 20 years. Finally, at this multilateral meeting, we came to an agreement to protect our fish stock in the world, and that work continues.
Thank you, Minister. Just in the brief, I think I have 1 minute left. If you could just tell us about our important trading relationship with the United States, but also the important position we took as a government vis-a-vis the EV tax credits, how that was resolved due to the advocacy of the Canadian government, and your perspective on the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act and the committee study that's going to be forthcoming.
Wow, how do I do that in a minute? Anyways, let me give it a try. Let me begin by saying thank you to everyone here. You all played an instrumental role in achieving what I believe is an absolute win for the Canadian economy and that of the Canadian auto sector. we don't do this alone on just the government side. It took everyone. It took all orders of government. It took our colleagues on all sides of the aisle. It took our businesses and our labor leaders coming together and doing that Team Canada advocacy to make sure that Canada and those automobiles and those critical minerals that are going to be produced in Canada are going to be a part of that very important Canada-U.S. supply chain. So exceedingly important, and I see that as a win for Canada to be included, and I see that as Canada's win and therefore all of ours. North America competitiveness is ultimately what CUSMA is about. We have a trading relationship between Canada, U.S., and Mexico that is $1.9 trillion. That is not insignificant. It is very important, and making sure that we are competitive as a North America region is what CUSMA is all about. It is what the CUSMA Free Trade Commission was all about in terms of taking stock and looking at how we continue to build on this competitiveness between our three countries. Two of the things that I would highlight, which I think are so important, making sure that small and medium-sized businesses in all of our economies get the benefit of trade. That was negotiated in an SME chapter in CUSMA. There is a committee that does that. There is deliberate work to make it easier for our businesses of all sizes. Every single one of our economies has micro, small, and medium-sized businesses that need to grow. And when they grow, it's good for our economy, it's good for our communities. And the second thing I would say, it's the first time we had a women's trade summit, a CUSMA, so a North American Women's Trade Summit between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. They came to Vancouver, and if this being the first is any indication, we're going to get growth, and we're going to get growth through those extraordinary women leaders of all sizes in all three of our countries.
Thank you very much, Minister. On to Mr. Savard-Tremblay for 6 minutes, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Bonjour, Madame la Ministre. Salutations à la...
Thank you, Madam Minister, and thank you for all the witnesses, and thank you for my colleagues. I was surprised because in the motion that was mandating or that invited you to testify before the committee, there were different points, and you did deal with most of them. But there was also softwood lumber, and you didn't speak to this. So given that you announced in August that you will contest the results of the review with regards to the anti-dumping fees on Canadian softwood lumber, where are you at with this challenge? Could you give us an update?
Merci beaucoup pour cette question.
Thank you very much for this question.
File. And I also want to thank the committee for the very important work and the study that the committee took on this. That's how important it is. Yes, we have initiated we've initiated a dispute settlement, requested a dispute settlement panel under Chapter 10, and I'm looking forward to that work being done. Canada has consistently, whether it is through Chapter 19 before, at the WTO, have seen Canadian softwood lumber and those decisions in favor of Canada. I was able to see some of the witnesses come forward through your study, but also in your report, that have really indicated some really good recommendations there, and I appreciate that.
Parfait, mais...
Very good. But what indicators do you have on potential success of the strategy that has begun? That is the dispute settlement panel. Is there a plan B? Could you inform us on the other possibilities if we would hit a wall with this challenge?
Well, let me say a couple of things. Just on the dispute settlement panels, we're actively working with the Americans to put those dispute settlement panels together, and I think we are making some progress there. There is a panel to hear the legal challenge on the U.S. anti-dumping duty order that was composed just in the last few days. I understand another panel will be composed in another few, but would also say that I, as the Canadian minister, I'm ready to negotiate at any time. But I would also point you to what witnesses have said and what the Canadian industry have said to us as the Canadian government consistently. They want an agreement, but they don't want any agreement. they want an agreement that is in the best interest, and it should not come at any cost. And that is a quote from Resolute Forest Products. I've been very clear. I'm ready to negotiate, and I will, but we'll always do it in the conditions that must be in the best interest of Canadians. I am in close contacts as my officials are. So we are going to pursue the channels that are available to us, the mechanisms through trade, like the dispute settlement panels, and at the same time make sure we are always working to take advantage of the right conditions when those right conditions present.
Et quel est le calendrier? Vous dites qu'il y a un autre.
And what is the timeline? You say that there will be another panel. So according to the calendar, when should we have information with regards to this file?
In terms of timelines, maybe I can get the officials to just provide a quick answer on that.
Thank you, Chair. As the Minister indicated, the anti-dumping panel under the NAFTA has been composed in the last week. We would expect developments with respect to the establishment of the remaining NAFTA panel in the coming days, and we're working with the United States on panel composition with respect to the subsequent challenges that relate to the administrative reviews that have followed.
Merci. Sinon, planifiez-vous?
Thank you. On this issue, again, are you foreseeing after the midterms, because there will be elections for some representatives and part of American senators, do you have a strategy with regards to American representatives in the Senate?
Well, whether it is on this issue of softwood lumber or, in fact, all of our bilateral issues with the United States, we are always on top of it because of how important it is to our exporters, to our communities, to the communities in Quebec in particular that has such a strength of the forestry sector there. But I would also like to thank the committee for the recommendations that you provided to me in your recent study. So the work to diversify our products so that they find markets to be exported to ensure that there is investments and commitment to the infrastructure that is the trade infrastructure in Canada so that we can move these products into those diversified markets. I highlight those two because I really want to thank the committee for doing that work, because it is that work that we actually are already doing. We are doing a lot of work to diversify. We are negotiating market access for growth into other parts of the world. And we absolutely are making investments in our trade corridor to make sure that Canadian goods and exports can move easily out of this country to the benefit of our exporters.
Thank you very much. On to Ms. Collins, please, for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Minister, you mentioned EDC in your opening statement. The government has promised to end fossil fuel financing through crown corporations like EDC and BDC. Canada gives out the most public financing to fossil fuels in the G20, and EDC is the worst offender. The promise was made last year to develop a plan, but so far we haven't seen any evidence that this plan is progressing. Meanwhile, EDC has already been the vehicle for $15 billion in fossil fuel financing just this year. I appreciate that you may not be the one driving the overall policy on fossil fuel financing, but as minister responsible for EDC and BDC, can you give an update on what work specifically has been done to advance that plan and what communication you've had with your cabinet colleagues on this?
Thank you so very much for that question and the commitment to making sure that we are building out green enterprises in Canada with the support of EDC is an absolute commitment. The commitment to phasing out I'm losing my support. There we go. Support. Gosh, brain freeze. For EDC is very much a commitment we intend to keep. What is really heartening to me, because this was the direction I gave to EDC as their minister last year, was to make sure they are supporting more growth of those very solutions and those very companies and those very entrepreneurs to build out clean technology. And today, they are Canada's largest investor for clean tech growth in Canada. That
And I
is a
just wanna,
direct
just because I've
result.
got such limited time, I do want to focus on the phasing out of public financing of fossil fuels, and really curious kind of what progress has been made on that plan specifically.
What I would say there is our commitment is real, and we intend to deliver on that.
Okay, I guess really wanting to see an update on that plan, how it's progressing. I understand you've made the commitment, but if there's any way that you could get back to the committee just with an update on how that plan is going and what progress has been made. It's been a year since Canada signed on at COP26 in Glasgow to stop public financing for fossil fuels. By the end of this year, now that's international public financing. This deadline's coming up pretty quickly. COP27 is just a couple weeks away. Can we expect to see that plan before then?
Well, I'm certainly happy to follow up and provide you with an update on this very important item. And what
that
I would.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Just on the same topic, but as Trade Minister, you're supposed to send EDC a yearly letter on priorities, which is then supposed to be made public. Last year, you sent that letter in February. It's now November of this year. We still haven't seen the statement of priorities and accountabilities for 2022. This speaks to me of an issue of transparency. And so I'm just curious when we can expect to see that letter.
Well, thank you very much to the member for that question. And I would say very soon, I am very committed to making clear and transparent the direction of priorities to EDC, to yourself, but also to members of the public. EDC is such an important tool and vehicle for Canadian exporters. I think that EDC has, is doing, well, I think about the pandemic and the extraordinary work that they did in supporting small businesses, to the tune of, hundreds of thousands of small businesses who got the small business loan. Most people
and
may
Minister,
not.
Just because I only have 2 minutes left, can you speak to any of those priorities for EDC, and especially do they include ending public financing of fossil fuels, both internationally and domestically here in Canada? Will that be part of that letter that you'll be sending to them this year?
I'm looking forward to making that letter public, and I think what you will absolutely expect to see is what our government has committed to ending that support for fossil fuels in there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. As Minister, you have the power to issue binding directives to EDC and BDC as Crown corporations. Would you be willing to use your power as Minister to issue a binding directive that would require EDC and BDC to end their financing of fossil fuel projects?
I think that that the tool that has been effective, and I talked just a second ago about the direction through strategic priorities to support the growth of those very solutions that will contribute to reducing our emissions and creating solutions to help fight climate change in clean growth is a perfect example. They are today the largest. They are the largest financiers for those clean tech projects in the country.
Since I've only got 45 seconds left, it sounds like that's not necessarily a firm yes that you'd be willing to do that. But your mandate letter includes instructions to work with the Minister of Environment and Climate Change to ban thermal coal exports from and through Canada as swiftly as possible. Can you just give us a quick update on how that work is progressing?
The update is it is progressing. I pride ourselves in how we work on a whole of government approach, so that we really are delivering for Canadians in a way that has us coordinated and working together. No different.
Is there a date that Canada can expect the ban on thermal coal exports to be in place?
I can't give you a date, but I can tell you that we are working very, very diligently at this.
Thank you very much. Mr. Martel, for 5 minutes, please.
Oui, merci.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Minister, for being here today. And thank you for the officials as well. I would like to speak to LNG. Germany asked us for Canadian LNG. We said that we were trying to develop a hydrogen sector, even though it's quite a new sector, although we could have the cleanest LNG in the world. Why aren't we not jumping on this opportunity?
Well, I would say that it was really terrific to welcome Chancellor Schultz to Canada and to work with Chancellor Schultz and with my colleague in Minister Hoback. That's Randy, Minister Haback from Germany, on solutions where Canada will indeed collaborate with Germany to supply green energy solutions. We've signed some really important agreements with Germany, in particular their industries in Volkswagen and in Mercedes-Benz, where they are looking to Canada as the place for the future development of those particular companies, that particular sector, precisely because of the green, the renewable energy and that we have here in Canada. So our commitment to work with Germany and indeed our partners in Europe is a very real one, and we're very pleased with the agreement that we have signed on hydrogen.
Ouais.
Yes, but I'm not really satisfied with your answer, Madam Minister, because you don't seem to have really answered the question. We heard that the Prime Minister was saying that we needed a business case to send LNG. The fact that Great Britain, Germany, France, and other European countries are going to have a shortage, and they're asking us for LNG. So I'm wondering, is that not the business case?
Well, I'm sure that my colleague in the minister responsible in natural resources could give you a much deeper answer. What I would say is there is no question that Russia's unjustified invasion of Ukraine have demonstrated the importance of cooperating with partners like Canada and Germany together to build those resilient supply chains, but also to provide the energy that is needed. It is also an opportunity for us to really fight climate change together and to accelerate that. And I think that the agreement that we have reached together on the acceleration of hydrogen is really historic. This is the kind of work that Canada is working on and will continue to work on with Germany. It is just so important that we do this work.
Oui. On parle de change.
So we're talking about climate change, and we know that LNG will have cause for less coal-fired energy. So our softwood lumber conflict, we know that we need a new tack. The U.S. industry is attacking the Canadian government plan that seeks to protect the forest in the fight against climate change, saying that they are grants. How can we defend ourselves if we're not able to have our points known even after several years?
Well, I would say that our points are known. We have done well in decisions that have returned to Canada's favor at the WTO. We have a Chapter 10 in this CUSMA precisely because our government negotiated that very important chapter when we were renegotiating CUSMA. You might recall that at that time, you and your colleagues said we should just take any deal that was present at the time. And for us, it was absolutely critical to get Chapter 10 and to get that dispute settlement chapter into the renegotiation. We were successful there. We are taking this matter there, and we're going to continue to fight this on all fronts, whether it is through the dispute settlement panel bilaterally, but also internationally, and also at the same time to work with the industry very closely so that we can create the right conditions or work through those right conditions to get what is a good deal for Canada and not just any deal.
Thank you very much. Under Mr. Miao for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome back, Minister and officials from the department. Thank you for all the hard work you've been doing and meeting with many around the world to promote Canada's trade. Over the past year, our committee has discussed at length the importance of a potential Canada-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement and the benefit it would have on Canadians, company, and exporters. I know you've been in discussion with ASEAN and you have visited the region on more than one occasion. And most recently, you traveled to Indonesia, during which you met with a number of Indonesian government officials to strengthen bilateral trade as Canada and Indonesia celebrate 70 years of diplomatic relationship this year. You were extremely busy on this trip, meeting with many colleagues in the Indo-Pacific. Could you share some of the highlights and major takeaways from these meetings and how they worked to benefit Canadian businesses back home?
I want to thank the honourable member for that important question. As the committee will know, Canada is presently at the negotiating table with the ASEAN bloc of countries, so 10 countries. Some of those countries are already a part of the CPTPP. We are also at the negotiating table with Indonesia on a bilateral agreement. To give people just sort of the sense of scale of the opportunity, Indonesia is a country of 280 million people. Next to the United States, they are number 2. The only 2 other countries larger than that is India and China. So it will be, and it is an important trading relationship. As you pointed out, we already have 70 years of diplomatic relations with Indonesia, and with the countries of the ASEAN, they are projected to be the 3rd largest bloc in the world. It is fast growing, and we already have tremendous Canadian presence that is there. In each of these trips that I do, I have an opportunity to meet with women-owned businesses and the Canadian companies that are operating on the ground so that they can talk to me about the kind of growth that they are seeing in these, what they say to me are frontier markets. So real market access for both services and goods. And that is really, really important. We are going to be celebrating 45 years of an anniversary in the ASEAN-Canada relationship, and so both of these trading agreements on both tracks are extremely important. But what really is, what really are trade agreements important for? It's important so that we are able to create the right conditions through those agreements for businesses to do business, for investors to have the confidence because there is, a set of rules that are predictable, that they can look to make investments, Canadian investments growing into the region, or those very investments looking to grow into Canada. I was very pleased while I was in the region to launch a Canada Trade Gateway to the Indo-Pacific, to the Asia-Pacific. We have a tremendous group of trade commissioners and human capital that is in the region, but this really will help us coordinate in such a way that then allows Canadian companies that sort of one window or that one door. I've been telling people in the region that the door swings both ways. It's a way for Canadian companies to understand the opportunities in the region and to create those supports, whether it's the Canadian Trade Accelerators or Tech Accelerators or the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service or the range of Canadian chambers that are just now all over the region to support and to work together with Canadian businesses and exporters who are looking to grow in that region. It is very, very dynamic. I hope that I know that the committee has some plans as part of its work to take a look at it on the ground, and it would be. I think you will see what I see, which is this dynamic growth. And as someone who is so committed to inclusive trade and that trade works for everyone, making sure that everyone, no matter what size of business you are, get the foothold into those economies and into those countries will mean growth means jobs for Canadians. And good jobs for Canadians is good for our communities.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Minister.
you, Minister.
Monsieur Sabard-Tremblay for 2.5 minutes, please.
Madame la Ministre,
Madam Minister, I would like to have a very short answer because I only have 2.5 minutes. Ideally, a yes or no would be great. You reiterated this, and we read your statements when you met with the German Vice Chancellor, and we know that there was the issue around hydrogen. You just confirmed. And we also know that Germany is developing terminals to export LNG and is calling on its allies. Has there been a commitment on behalf of Canada with Germany in order to increase exports in LNG?
Well, this is an important relationship, and I think the best answer for me to say is I'm working closely with the Minister for Natural Resources, who is taking on quite a lead on this, and that work continues.
Donc, autrement dit, il n'y a pas eu assez.
So at this point, there's been no commitment with regards to the German Vice Chancellor. That's what I'm understanding. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but so the statement made by your colleague, the Deputy Premier in Washington, saying that Canada should use LNG as a transition energy source for countries in Europe. Is this the official position of the government?
What I would say is that this work with Germany is exceedingly important, indeed with all of our friends and allies. Energy and the security for energy and clean energy is absolutely a commitment. I think you'll see that of our government. And this work is a priority, and it continues.
Merci. Alors donc,
Thank you. So I'm going to insist on this German issue again, the official position of the government, that of the Deputy Premier in Washington, that was that LNG should be considered as a transition source of energy, an important one.
Well, I would say that energy security and Canada being able to provide good, clean energy to our colleagues and allies is a top priority of government.
Thank you, Minister. On to Ms. Collins for 2.5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, I've spoken to many of my constituents who are concerned about the need for a comprehensive mandatory human rights due diligence law, compelling businesses to respect human rights standards in their global operations and supply chains. Now, there's documented examples of Canadian mining, energy, garment, and other industries and their suppliers linked to human rights abuses and environmental damage around the world. The Canadian Ombudsperson for Responsible Enterprise currently lacks the power to compel testimony or the submission of documents, so they can't effectively investigate allegations of human rights abuses linked to Canadian companies. Voluntary measures have really proven ineffective in preventing these kind of human rights abuses and environmental destruction. I'm curious where you stand as Minister on empowering the Office of the Canadian Ombudsperson for Responsible Enterprise with the independence and the power to investigate human rights abuses and allegations, and enacting that kind of comprehensive human rights due diligence laws that would compel businesses to respect international human rights standards.
Thank you for that question. Let me just start by saying that standing up for human rights and advocating for that around the world is absolutely a core tenet of how Canada trades around the world. The core is one part of this, but so is the national point of, the national contact point, and so is the strengthened responsible business conduct strategy. They all need to work hand in hand, and that's precisely why we strengthened this. This is precisely why we strengthened the strategy. I've had many of those. I've had conversations with many of the companies across Canada as well, and the expectation is really clear. You're going to need to operate. You will operate internationally with those standards for human rights and for responsible business conduct in the same way that you operate here around the world. And we have tools and at our disposal to ensure that companies are doing that. I'm pleased that what the Corps is doing is she's fully funded and her office is set up. She has got a team that is looking at complaints.
Is there any openness to changing the structure just to allow for that power to investigate and the independence?
I've been working with the Corps very diligently to be sure that that she's able to do both things, that she's supported in delivering her mandate, but that she's also doing the other piece, which is to make sure that these don't happen in the first instance. So that work is ongoing, and so far she and I are working together, and we're working in the context of the broader RBC strategy, and I would say that that based on the complaints that she's been able to look at, and the work that she's able to do to ensure that there is prevention is good.
Thank you very much, Minister. On to Mr. Carey for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Madam Minister. Minister, you said something that concerns me in a response to Mr. Seebeck when we were talking about the Indo-Pacific economic framework for prosperity. You said we will be ready when the right conditions present. Minister, President Biden launched this in May of this year, and he invited Australia, Brunei, Dar es Salaam, excuse me, Fiji, India, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, New Zealand, Philippines, Singapore.
Appel au règlement, Madame la Présidente. L'interprète ne peut faire convenablement son travail.
Yeah, excuse me a second. We've got translation problems. Just hold it for a second, please.
Yep.
A few minutes to make sure that translation is functioning properly. Sorry, Mr. Carey, we'll put your time back at the beginning again. Order. Okay, Mr. Carey, please
Yeah.
continue.
My question was for the minister. Her comment that she's waiting for the right conditions to present. This initiative was launched just in May, and the president invited a number of different countries. In response, the minister said Minister Joly has asked to join, and there is support for that from the Americans. But Mr. Blinken was very clear. He said he has to consult with the other members who were in from day one. Minister, in trade, you don't wait for the proper conditions to present. You have to go and make those conditions. So I'm asking you, what are you and your department doing now? When's the next meeting for us to be inside the room, not outside the room?
I just want to clarify, I didn't say that we were going to wait for conditions. I did say that with respect to softwood, because that was in response to what the industry has said to me, which is what they want. A good deal, not any deal. So just for clarification, that's what I said. With respect to IPEF, we are absolutely inside the tent with the Asia Pacific. We're also inside the tent with the United States of America. You've seen us successfully negotiate a good deal for Canada in CUSMA. You have seen us include the Canadian auto industry in the EV credits. You are seeing Canada with a strong progressive agreement with the CPTPP countries and looking to increase market access for others. That is what we're doing. We are working with the United States robustly. We are working with them on supply chain resiliency. We're working with them on clean energy decarbonization on infrastructure. We're working with them on taxation and anti-corruption. We're working on a whole host of work that was laid out between the President and the Prime Minister on the roadmap for Canada-US. That work continues. So does the work in Canada and creating opportunities in the Indo-Pacific. And of course, we're going to work with the United States. And I've been talking to the United States trade representative on this front, and so has Minister Joly, and she made that public yesterday with Secretary Blinken.
Yep.
You have 1 minute remaining, Mr. Carey.
And Secretary Blinken was clear that he couldn't allow us in until he talked to the other members who were invited by day one. And my point was, Minister, being on the outside looking in with this important agreement is not the way we want to go. And I asked you, when are the next meetings for us to be at the table to get into this important agreement that would really affect our future supply chains?
Well, the commitment I can make to you, sir, is that working with the United States to grow our trade and to do it in a way that will also deal with climate change is what we're going to be doing. We're also going to be doing that with our colleagues in the Indo-Pacific. We do that through the Ottawa Group with many of those members who are also some of those members who are in, who are also a part of this arrangement. The point is that Canada is at the table everywhere.
Oh, so there is no meeting. You can confirm that. There's no meetings with the group to get us in.
What I'm saying is that Canada continues to work to expand our
Thank
growth.
you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carey. On to Mr. Sarai for 5 minutes, please.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Appel au règlement, Madame la Présidente.
I'm not hearing the interpretation.
Again, Mr. Sarai.
Sorry, my boom was up. Give me 1 second here. I apologize. I got caught off guard there. Thank you, Minister. My question is, Canada, the United States, and Mexico created the largest free trade region in the world, generating economic growth and helping raise the standard of living for the people of all three countries. Canada, United States, Mexico agreement, CUSMA, serves to reinforce our strong economic ties in the United States and Mexico. It preserves key elements of the long-lasting trading relationship and incorporates new and updated provisions for the 21st century. Can you tell us what makes CUSMA a unique trading agreement compared to others, and how Canadian businesses leverage CUSMA? I know you mentioned earlier about how trade has gone ever so more, but and how can it help access more customers across North America?
Thank you so much for that important question. North American competitiveness is incredibly important, and this relationship is a really, really strong one. And I think CUSMA has strengthened the way in which the three countries are working together. We have an incredible network of trade commissioners and mission team across the United States that help our Canadian businesses go abroad. And I can't emphasize how important that is, because we have seen $1 trillion of trade go into the United States, $1.9 trillion if you include Mexico. And what we need to see more and more of is this growth through small and medium-sized enterprises who find the navigation of getting into the United States or into international markets, period, quite challenging. So I am really thrilled that there is an SME chapter negotiated into CUSMA. There is a committee that works dedicated to that. There was a conference that took place in the U.S. last year that they hosted that brought together all three countries so that they can put tools together that will ultimately better help those businesses grow into each other's markets. And this work is infinitely important, because I think the numbers are not different for the U.S. and Mexico as it is in Canada. I mean, 98% of all our businesses are small and medium-sized businesses. So helping them get the advantages of exporting into those markets is just really, really important. And this trade agreement provides the mechanisms for doing so.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I'm a big fan of EV and solar, and Canada seems like they've won in that issue with the U.S. We saw all-time highs in trade volumes between the two nations. The committee, I think, is set to undertake a study on the impacts of the Inflation Reduction Act passed in the U.S. House of Representatives. Can you detail to the committee some of the policy advocacy that you undertook to reverse the original U.S. position and what it means to our auto sector and labor sectors? I particularly am concerned to have a EV motorcycle plant that's being built right here in Surrey, British Columbia, and it's this is very important news for them to get access to the U.S. market.
Thank you very much. I said earlier to everyone here on the committee how appreciative we are, and because we really did. I think this is one file where we really worked as Team Canada. We were completely focused on making sure that Canada was included in this important these important credits that will ultimately incentivize American consumers to be buying electric vehicles, and electric vehicles that are made in Canada is such an important part of the Canadian economy and the auto sector. What this has enabled us to do, of course, is attract the kind of investments for the battery ecosystem that is now in Canada. I think week after week, month after month, you're seeing our government make announcements for the kinds of investments, whether it's be through BASF or others that are coming into Canada to develop out the battery ecosystem. It's really good to see that in the Inflation Reduction Act that the critical minerals that will come out of Canada will also be part of that supply chain in the creation of EVs here in Canada into the U.S. So a lot of work went into ensuring that Canada was carved in and to maintain what is a very important supply chain. I often reminded reminded the Americans that a car probably crosses over 7 or 8 times between our Canadian and United States border before it comes off the production line as final, and that means workers on this side of the border and on that side of the border are working on it. It means in the future the critical minerals that will go into making the batteries are going to come into Canada and processed and will make its way into those vehicles, and it means that for your motorcycles, that battery ecosystem is going to be key. So will the critical minerals; it'll be key, and this lucrative market to which we continue to be a part of through this integrated supply chain is what all of us, I would say, as Team Canada, and again, it's members of this committee, it's all of us on all sides of the House. It is different levels of government. It is industry themselves, the auto sector themselves, the parts folks, the labor representatives, the labor unions, and the workers themselves. So it really was Team Canada.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Baldinelli, for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, thank you for being here. If I go back, I mean, the first question I ever had a chance to ask in Parliament when I was elected in 2019 had to do with the WTO challenge, the Australian challenge to the 2006 excise exemption on 100% Canadian-made wine. And flowing from that decision was the need to create a replacement program. $101 million was first committed by the government in Budget 2021. That was then raised in 2022 when the formal trade-compliant replacement program was created. Problem is, Minister, I mean, it's only a 2-year program, and the sector is looking for certainty. And, I mean, Budget 2022, in fact, showed the government, because of the elimination of the excise exemption, would be generating $390 million over a 5-year period. So my question to you right now, from my stakeholders, the grape and wine growers and the industry producers, they're looking for certainty to see whether our trade-compliant program will be extended past those 2 years and whether the government will commit to extending, if not fulfilling that $390 million is ensured that it goes to producers and the growers.
Well, thank you for that, and I remember the question, and I love your part of the country, the grape and wine growers are incredibly important, and I too and my team have met with them. The issue of being compliant is a real one, but I want to, I think what I want to do is assure the, those very important stakeholders that we will continue to work with them. We've always been working with them right from the get-go, including getting to the solution that ultimately, ended up with the WTO decision sort of going away as it did. We're just going to have to keep working with the industry, and I think our track record is really good on that front. We have my office and my team and myself have consistently been working and in fact providing solutions.
The government favor extending the current trade-compliant program that currently exists. Again, I mean, it ends shortly. I mean, it's only for 2 years. The government committed $166 million to that 2 years. But again, they showed $390 million in revenue over 5 years. I would think that that revenue that the government is now taking from this tax should be returned to both the industry and their grape growers. So, I mean, the program exists. They're just looking for the certainty to see whether or not that program will be extended.
Yeah, for sure, trade compliance is one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is that this is also, a file where I work with my agricultural colleague. I also work with my finance colleague. So, I tout the importance of working across government in a whole of government way because this file is a perfect example of that. I think we've been able to do that quite well, listening to the stakeholders, working with you. I mean, your voice in this has been really important, along with others, who represent this stakeholder, but also the region and other parts of, other wine growers across the country. So I just want to assure you that the industry is an important one, and we'll keep working with you and with them. But I also have to work, and I will, with my colleagues in agriculture and in finance.
Madam Chair, 1 minute. Quickly, I'd just like to go. You had earlier indicated about beginning negotiations on a Canada-UK trade agreement, and we see some of the challenges with the dispute resolution function. Ambassador Theodore mentioned the other day about the multi-party interim appeal arbitration agreement that exists, and Canada is one of 19 countries. It indicates the EU is part of that, but is the UK seeking to be part of that program? And so when we do a negotiation with the UK, our fourth largest trading partner, will we be building in a dispute settlement process into that agreement?
Well, having a dispute settlement process in any trade agreement, I think, is a really, well, it's an important and necessary thing, right? I mean, you negotiate these agreements, and you want to make, and by and large, they all work pretty well most of the time. But sometimes they need some interpretation, and they need a dispute settlement process to make sure the trade agreement is working well. The MPIA was a very much an innovation of the Ottawa Group. I mean, it was born out of the Ottawa Group because when the appellate body ceased to work at the WTO, it was born out of that, and we're very proud that we were able to bring along a number of countries to the MPIA. I can't remember specifically if I talked to the United Kingdom about it, but likely I probably did, because I often talk to everybody. In the meantime, until such time that we as a WTO body are working on a permanent reform to the dispute settlement system, let's use this MPIA, because it's a temporary solution that is mirrored after the present system. And if, the more of us who are using it, just gives us that kind of predictability in the trading system, while the more permanent solution is being worked out at the WTO.
But that goes to the challenges. If the Americans aren't part of that system, I mean, it would be advantageous to us to have the UK part of it, though they're leaving the European Union program, right?
Thank you, Mr. Baldinelli there. Squeeze in an extra minute, so thank you very much. Ms. Dillon, please, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the Minister for being here today. Very happy to have you. Something you've been talking about recently and today in your remarks is the growing of an inclusive economy. Recently, you made an announcement in Winnipeg about the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy Loan Fund, which is providing much needed capital to women, business owners in Quebec and across Canada. Could you please tell us how what you are doing domestically connects with trade?
How'd you know that would be like my favorite answer? Women in trade, women entrepreneurs, period, is the smartest thing that we could be doing. We are 50% of the population. I've used this sports analogy before. If you're going to train up a wonderful team to win at your sport, you sure the heck don't want 50% of that team sitting on the bench. So why would we want 50% of the women sitting on the bench? So our first ever women's entrepreneurship strategy is a $6 billion investment to help women entrepreneurs start their business, scale their business, and by scaling and growing their business, to access the international market. I often tell people, don't worry about the title that's on my business card. I'm the Minister for Startup, Scale Up, and Access New Markets. And for women entrepreneurs, I am there with them every step of the way to help them start and to help them grow. What is the return on investment for the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy? It's $150 billion in Canada. $6 billion is what we have invested, and we can return $160 billion to the Canadian economy simply by adding women to the economy. And I tell my international colleagues that it's a $12 trillion to the global economy by adding women to the economy. So the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy has 3 parts. One is getting access to capital, which we hear a lot about by all small businesses, but particularly women-owned businesses that face those difficulties. Mentorship and having an ecosystem of support is what they are looking for. And then we need to be able to track this stuff and make sure that there is good data. I'm really pleased to say that the women's entrepreneurship ecosystem already, we've only had it in place since 2019. It's already helped 5,000 new businesses, women-owned businesses start, and helped 7,000 existing women-owned businesses grow their existing businesses. And the ecosystem partners, which, and I'll highlight one in particular, which is the Asia Pacific Foundation. They've been doing these really terrific women-led trade missions. They've done one to Japan in person. They've done one to Taiwan, to India, to Australia and New Zealand, to South Korea. We're heading back to Japan in December. number, but they're women-led trade missions to look for opportunities in those particular markets so that these businesses can grow, and we're seeing some real terrific collaborations in those markets. But we're also seeing really excellent opportunities for collaborations because there isn't a place, and I shared in my opening remarks the various places that I have been, and there is not a single place that I have been to where I don't convene a roundtable of women-led businesses. France, Sweden, Africa, Thailand, Philippines, Cambodia, Indonesia, Singapore, and so forth in the CARICOMs. It is dynamic, and you are seeing these incredible female businesses of all sizes growing their business, and what we're trying to do here is to create those those connections between Canadian businesses who want to grow into those markets and co-collaborate, co-invest for growth. So I think it is the smartest thing that we could be doing. The Business Women in International Trade program is growing. The support that EDC is providing to women entrepreneurs is growing. The support that BDC is providing is growing. But I would say that the economic policies alone is not going to do it. You need to have affordable childcare because women need to work. And when they work, they need support for childcare. Parental leave is a game changer. When I was in Israel, I remember the women entrepreneurs telling me, "Are you kidding? Are you telling me that I can take that if I were in Canada, I can take, I can keep working and my partner or spouse can take up, like the 18 months?" I said, "You got it." That is a game changer. So I think smart policies, whole of government policies to support the growth of businesses is exactly what we have been doing. Since 2015, you sit around the table at Women's Caucus. You talk to me about this all the time. But I want to thank everyone because this work is all of our work.
Okay. Thank you very much. On to Monsieur Savard-Tremblay for 2.5 minutes.
Madam Minister, you spoke to this. We know that there are discussions with Indonesia, with ASEAN, with India. These are countries that are already large producers. But if India, they produce a lot of palm oil. Do you have a strategy to not amplify the serious consequences of palm oil production? We know that this is a sector that is under the control of warlords. There's a lot of people that are exposed. There's forced labor. There is deforestation. How are you going to avoid the amplification of this issue in the case of an agreement?
I want to thank you for that question because it's really, really important. Human rights, our values as Canadians sit equal to they lead the way in the way we negotiate trade. They have to. We firmly believe that trade and the environment protection has to be mutually supportive. We know that there are high rates of forest lost, driven in part by the monocrop oil palm plantations, and this, of course, is a concern. So very much in negotiations, in all of the negotiations, we're looking at, we are looking at and working with those very solutions that have to address the wide range of global environmental issues. So, sustainable forest management, sustainable agriculture. So I want to assure you that the way in which we approach these negotiations are from that perspective, leading with Canadian values.
Donc, vous nous confirmez, alors que la semaine prochaine, il y aura la...
So you're confirming that next week we will have the third round of negotiations with Indonesia. So you're confirming that there will be a requirement to have ethical criteria with regards to palm oil, that this will be on the table next week?
In our conversations and negotiations with, whether it's Indonesia or any of our trading partners, I think our record is pretty clear. The C and the P in CPTPP had a lot to do with Canada, and you'll remember at the time it wasn't exactly popular. But I met with them last couple of weeks ago in Singapore, and everyone now titles this as a high standard agreement, and it's high because of those standards for labor and those standards for the environment, because everyone understands that how we are going to trade and do business in the world has got to be complementary to what we need to be doing to fight climate change. So they've got to go hand in hand, and we just have to. And that is the conversation that we bring to. That is the type of discussion that is happening around those very tables.
Thank you very much, Minister. On to Ms. Collins for 2.5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister, you've spoken a bit already about the U.S.'s Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, and I sit on the Environment Committee where we've just finished hearing from witnesses on a study on clean technology. The Inflation Reduction Act kept coming up again and again, and in particular the opportunities that it presents for Canada to benefit as the world shifts towards a clean economy, but also the challenges we will face if we don't seize the opportunity and the serious impact on businesses and workers if this government lets Canada fall behind. The IRA really reinforces that climate ambition is the best path forward for sustained job growth. Labor organizations, industry, and environmental groups are all saying Canada doesn't currently have a comprehensive industrial strategy that will ensure competitiveness and long-term clean jobs for workers in the transition. It's rare to have these diverse voices speaking as one. So what are you doing to respond to this call for a comprehensive industrial strategy for clean jobs?
Thank you for that. I think that question is so important because if I think about my job, I don't think about my job without thinking about how we grow the green economy, period. Domestically here in Canada, the tremendous array of businesses and technologies and entrepreneurs that are providing solutions to the green economy. So whether it is circular to take plastics out of the out of our communities and the oceans, whether it is those very innovative clean water solutions, whether it's companies like Carbon Cure that is creating green cement, green steel, green aluminum. I mean, there isn't anything that we think about today that isn't about creating a green economy that fights climate change and at the same time grows jobs. So I would say that we very much have a green industrial strategy. We've had one since 2015. We've put a price on pollution. The companies that I meet around the world, I mean, are looking through their value chains and saying, they've got to meet net zero. And they're looking at Canadian solutions.
Sorry, you have 10 seconds left.
Oh, sorry. I think the concern is around the IRA and the need for greater ambition at this point in response.
Okay, thank you very much. On to Mr. Carey for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Minister. I did want to investigate a little bit more about your proactive approach. I'm from Oshawa, and in Ontario, the auto industry is extremely important. I remember being in Washington with premiers when the CUSMA was being negotiated. There was a concern that the United States and Mexico were getting close to a deal, and we were going to be stuck with what was left over, but we did come out with a deal. But the first review is going to be in 2026. And I was wondering proactively what your government is doing to prepare for this. And what are your efforts that you're doing to ensure support for the agreement and make sure the support remains high in the U.S. and Mexico?
That is such a good question. And it's precisely Oshawa and the car makers, the part makers, and the workers that we certainly were so top of mind in the latest round of defending the auto sector against the EV credits. All of us, on the government side, but I would say all of us working with provinces and municipalities, particularly those around border states, have to continue doing the work that we have been doing from that time that you just mentioned in a Team Canada advocacy, so that we are always top of mind with the Americans, my interactions are regular with the USTR, as are my colleagues, from defense to commerce, to foreign affairs, and in environment. And natural resources. I think Minister Wilkinson was just in Washington just a couple of days ago. But I think this is one where we continue to need sort of that Team Canada approach. With our industry, with our workers, and it is just it is I think a part of our DNA in terms of how we work today. It has to be.
Carrie? May have
Yeah,
lost.
sorry, I was having a connection issue. Apologies. I'm having a connection issue, but thank you, Minister. And you do have my support if you do have any specifics that you're doing to support the agreement meetings with the U.S. and Mexico. Please keep us all in mind. My next question is about, as of September, I think there was about a 10,000 plus FAST application backlog. It's extremely important for our truckers, but there's a requirement for an in-person interview, and it must be conducted in the U.S. or the U.S.-based enrollment centers. There was a shortage of fast drivers pre-pandemic, and it's been exacerbated by the backlog. I was wondering if you have any update for us. Is anything being done to eliminate the backlog and ensure that more truckers can receive fast cards? Are you working with your colleagues? Could you give us an update on that? Because I'm hearing a lot about it.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. The answer is yes, we are working with the Americans. My colleagues are on this, so not me directly, but as these things go, all of my colleagues know that if it's going to have an impact on businesses, of any size in this country, then they usually sort of, hear it from me.
Exactly. Okay.
Well, that if you're able to get an update for us from your colleagues. I know it's not directly you, but it affects the Canada, U.S., Mexico trade agreement so significantly. Any information would be welcome, especially those who are waiting in the backlog.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Carey. On to Mr. Varani, please.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm going to return to a concept that you've touched upon, but branch it out a little bit further. So you've talked about sort of your commitment towards inclusive trade and inclusive business development. And Ms. Dillon asked you some questions about female entrepreneurs. I want to ask you about Black entrepreneurs and Indigenous entrepreneurs. We know about the Black Entrepreneurship Strategy, really a flagship program that addresses systemic racism in the economy. But also we know from your opening comments that you mentioned participation in the Indigenous Peoples Economic and Trade Cooperation Arrangement. Can you tell us about your prioritization of this kind of inclusive growth and what it means for Indigenous and Black entrepreneurs in Canada?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. It is an absolute priority. Helping Canadian businesses of all sizes and those that have been underrepresented in our economy, I would say, is the hallmark of the work that we've been able to do together. To see a couple of evenings ago, when the chairperson of the African Union Commission was here in Canada, with a wonderful room of those very Black entrepreneurs and investors who are from those very countries to which they are looking for export opportunities and building on the relationships, the existing commercial relationships that and new commercial relationships that are there, can only happen if those barriers that are here, whether it's getting access to capital or navigating to the range of business networks that are here to help them know the kinds of supports that we offer. I mean, in the federal government, but also those in in other parts is essential. So so the Black Entrepreneurship Program has a very robust sort of access to capital component, because that is a real barrier. I'm very pleased to work with Canada's financial institutions in unlocking that wonderful potential. The Government of Canada, of course, has made an investment in there, so that we're very much a partner at the table. And today and in the future, I am certain that this will unlock that economic capability in our country. On Indigenous peoples, it's terrific to work with other countries like New Zealand or Chile, or who are equally Australia, who are equally committed to the work that we wish to do to ensure that Indigenous entrepreneurs and businesses are also getting the benefits out of trade. It's one where when I have bilateral meetings with others, I always, I'm constantly working sort of, those phones and those meetings to encourage others to join with us on those arrangements.
Thank you very much, Minister. And thanks for that commitment to economic reconciliation, which I think is really vital. I want to pivot to something you also mentioned in the outset when you talked about the people-to-people ties and Canadian diversity and harnessing it, and connect that to your recent trip to the Philippines, where you were meeting with, I believe, Secretary Lopez. We know that there's about 1 million Filipino Canadians in the diaspora just in this country alone. When you're broaching ties and better relations and economic ties with the Philippines itself, what does that mean for the Filipino entrepreneurs here? What does that mean for our connections with that country in terms of international?
I say this all the time, and I would encourage other people to repeat it. Canadians are best to trade around the world because we come from around the world. Those relationships and those people-to-people ties are extremely important. In the Philippines, I met with, I saw Canadian commercial excellence at work. I saw Canadian engineering and construction giant in WSP. I saw the Skyway that they built in Manila that carries some, 500 million commuters a day. I mean, think about that, 500 million a day. My God, 500,000. Sorry, not 500 million. Extra couple of zeros there. But the people-to-people ties, I've met these incredible Filipino entrepreneurs in Winnipeg, for example, who have these deep ties and roots to the Philippines, and they act as such an incredible bridge. So these business organizations, I met the Canadian-Philippine Chamber of Commerce while I was in the Philippines, who again are working to attract investment into sort of a number of sectors. Now, here's the other highlight about being in the Philippines. I got to meet Jollibee. Right? I mean, people across the country here and certainly in Philippines know Jollibee, and they've got 24 locations in Canada, and their CEO tells me that they are expanding to more. But the opportunity is immense, and I think the opportunity is immense when I look at where we are pursuing market access and growth. And we should utilize those wonderful Canadians across the country who come from these parts of the world to very much help us with those people-to-people connections so that we can grow our commerce and our businesses into those parts of the world.
Okay, thank you very much, Minister. Minister, you've been with us answering questions for 1 hour and 45 minutes. I think you've really established a real record for others to have to reach as well. So thank you and your officials so very much for all that valuable information. We appreciate it very much. For the members of the committee, I did talk to you about a budget for our Inflation Reduction Act. It was distributed to everybody. Everybody's in support of that. Yes? Okay. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.